is an experience of blind sight, like seeing something very faintly. That's the one hypothesis that we are going to take a look. So to address this question, there has been a task to prove their phenomenology, basically. And in short, their loss of vision is very unlike to faint vision. And here, the interesting thing to point out is that they used the intact visual cortex as the control for this experiment. So coming back to GY's performance, I'll just summarize it again. When the contrast of the stimulus is very faint, like 9%, he doesn't see it, and he also reports, his reports as well. Reports is 0% awareness and a 50% chance in terms of localization where the stimulus was. And then when it's high enough, then he says that, oh, I see it, and also he was able to locate it very well. Okay. And then intermediate case, it was kind of mixture of both. But steadily, his localization performance becomes better and better. And then awareness score fluctuates over the blocks. So to recapitulate, or sort of to introduce the new paradigm rather than this two alternative post choice. So here the experimenter did a more complex kind of experiment. Okay. To specifically test the question of is a blind sight like seeing very faintly. And remember that the GY has a left side of the visual field is intact, and the right side is blind, at least what he claims. So utilizing this fact, Storig and others did 6 alternative post-choice tasks. Okay, here 4 locations reserved for the visual, visible side, intact side of the field. 1, 2, 3, 4. They are the location of this very faint stimulus. It's a 3% contrast, so very difficult to see. And then GY was supposed to look at this in the center. And then when things happens in one of these 4 locations, he touches that location. Okay, that's already 4 alternatives. And then 5th one is this simplified version of the response on the blind side, blind field. So here, instead of 2 stimulus and then asking which one, which location it was presented, they just asked whether the stimulus was there or not. So it's much simpler. And then it's always on this location, at this location. And the contrast of this stimulus was either 30% or 45% or 99%. And then this situation, this GY was supposed to see it pretty much very, very reliably. Okay. So the rest of this condition is critical. And that's this 5th location, the 6th location. So this is a 5th. And the 6th location here is just to specifically respond that when he thought that there was nothing to be presented. So there was a sound cue that like beep, and then he was supposed to press one of these 6 locations. Okay, so that's the reason why it's 6 alternative post choice. He always have to press one of these 6 locations, and then there was no verbal report. Okay. Now, so the task design is critical to understand here. So here, in the experiment 1 condition, there was most of the trials were faint stimuli, only 3%, visible ones, and that's 60%, meaning that 15%, 15%, in each of the location. And then high contrast stimulus on the blind field on the right side, that's included in 5%. And then no stimulus condition was included in 35%. So this is quite challenging if you think about it, because in many trials, 3%, very faint stimulus is presented in one of the visible locations. And then 35%, roughly half of that, there was actually nothing. And then that case, you are supposed to press the button of the absent case, right? And then occasionally, 5% of the trial, there was highly, highly, salient and strong contrast stimulus in blind blind location. So if you set the mindset to report anything that happens very, very faintly on this side or that, then what you would expect is that he would be probably able to do this on the left side, the faint stimulus report, and sometimes maybe making a mistake about oh, I might have seen something, but he may be able to say always no, I didn't see it. And then occasionally presented the high contrast stimulus, he might say confidently, oh yes, I saw it, because it's much easier to detect compared to 3%, 30% or 45% stimulus. However, it turns out that here's the result of this experiment one. So for the faint stimulus condition, this guy, GY was actually excellent. All of the trials, he was able to localize very accurately. And then when the stimulus was not presented, again, he was excellent. All correctly reported as no stimulus, meaning that it's called no false alarm. I'll review it again in a couple of slides. And then the critical condition, high contrast stimulus in the blind field. He, in the case of the 30% or 45%, he said that every time, no stimulus. And then in the 99% case, which is very high contrast, reported as seen every time. So to situate this in this framework of the signal detection theory that I covered in a couple of weeks ago, stimulus is either present or absent, and then subject response is either yes or no. And I'll just focus on this, false alarm and hit here, okay? That is important for the signal detection theory analysis. False alarm is a case that when you say yes, when there was no stimulus, and the hit is a case when you say yes, when the stimulus is present. All right. So in this case, if you focus on only the right side of situation, no stimulus, perfect false alarm, right? Zero false alarm. And in the case of a stimulus in the blind field, if it's 30 or 45%, then there's no hit. And the 99% contrast stimulus, it's all hit. So this resulting, this receiver operating characteristic. When stimulus is 30% or 45%, false alarm 0, hit 0. So it's located at this location, bottom left. And then if it's a 99% contrast, it's top left because false alarm is 0 and then hit is 1. So the tricky thing is about this blue thing, right? Unless you have an different kind of criterion to say, let's say he can raise the bar to make more false alarm here or here or here or here, then we can't actually tell whether he's actually has a different kind of the discriminability. The case of the 99% is clear. It's a D prime of 4, very almost perfect intact vision. But other cases really unclear. So what can we do? That's the next question. So in summary, but so far we have already gained some kind of idea what it's like to be the blind side. At least GY can actually accurately and normally report faint stimuli in the blind field. But when no stimulus is presented, GY reported seeing nothing. So that means that he doesn't have some kind of really weird sense of report, right? And yet, when it comes to the right side of a field, blind field, 30% or 45% contrast stimulus that is totally visible for normal people, much above threshold, he just denied seeing it. But when it's 99%, he says, yeah, I see it all the time. So it's still unclear what's happening, but at least we can probably rule out a situation that what GY is seeing is something really faint across the right side. But before concluding that, then why does he do that? And maybe one way of explaining this is that the GY has an abnormal threshold or detection criterion only on the right side. And that's the next, what the next video is trying to test. Okay.